record. So we are recording now. So thanks everyone for joining. This is our, let's see, what month is it? I don't even know. It's March. And this is the exhibition Layers and Crucibles. And the artists are Chia Roach, Tracy Knowles Ross, and Leah Carroll. And they're going to talk about their work today and share their screens, and I'm going to share mine, and we're going to pull up some images and share the show with you. So Tracy's going to lead us off. So Tracy, you go ahead and introduce yourself and go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. We good?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm Tracy. The name of my series is Downstream Elegies. And this is just so I can get started here. Hold on. When the pandemic hit, I had a studio away from home and I had to bring everything back home and start working. And the work seemed different here than it did when I was making it at the studio. My space was different. My mindset was different. And I started mudlarking, and I started spending a lot of time playing in the woods and walking down to the creek and gathering treasures at the creek instead of working in the studio. And a lot of the work that I'd started, I was dismantling and rebuilding because the world felt different. And so the work needed to change. And I started gathering things like rust and broken glass, and I loved it, but I didn't know what to do with it. I've been doing this for years. I have bowls of it and boxes of it in my studio, and I wanted to figure out how to incorporate it in the work where you could see it, because a lot of my work I used repurposed and found materials, but I hide it in the work. And I wanted to show off this stuff because it seemed important. This is the creek, and there's some of the goodies I find. And I started thinking about, I love this Wendell Berry quote, "Do unto those downstream as you would have those upstream do unto you." And I would get angry when I would find things in the creek, basketballs, Gatorade bottles, telephones, trash bags, Walmart bags. You'd be amazed at the weird things that show up in the water. And I live on a bend, and they would turn the bend and end right at my place. And so I'd spend a lot of time gathering these things, but it was weird during the pandemic when I was feeling so disconnected from people because we were isolating at home, that I had this strange connection to people. It's like these strange ghosts of the people upstream were landing at my place. And so I felt connected in a weird way. And I started thinking about how waterways move through, like train tracks, through the backs of communities, behind houses and through yards. And so it was a strange way of feeling connected to people when we were very disconnected from people. But I also love the flora and fauna of my woods. So these forms really started taking on a lot of importance in my work. And I love slime molds and fungus and things like that. So I started photographing a lot of them, but I don't show my photography, nor I haven't yet. But I wanted to figure out how to use this as part of my work instead of just showing. I show it on social media all the time, but I don't incorporate it into my actual work. So instead of trying to show the photos, because I've never figured out a way to do that works for me, I wanted to try to make these forms. We were also getting a lot of, takeout and groceries and a lot of shipped things to us because we were isolating, and all of this cardboard and packaging was accumulating, and Christmas wrap and goodies like that. And so I started using all of that excess packaging instead of recycling it. I started tearing it up and turning it into forms that felt more like forms I was seeing in nature. And I loved this idea of taking man-made excess and turning it back into something that connected to the natural world. So this form of the turkey tail mushrooms really is in a lot of my work now. These are just more forms, patterns, like on the snake. We also had a couple of snakes get in the house, and my chicken coop. So they took on a tremendous amount of importance in my work. And the slime molds, I just love these forms. And so I'm using these a lot. They're not literal representations, but they echo these forms that I see in the forest floor. And I really love at this time when there's so much political strife and the pandemic is hurting so many of us, that somehow the forest floor became so important to me as a regenerative place. but the decomposers are so beautiful. The beetles, the fungus, things that you see on the rotten wood. There's death there, definitely, but there's just something hopeful about it. And so it feels dark, like the time has felt to me, but also positive, because new life would come from it. And also using up stuff that would go into landfills and turning it into something positive and making art out of it also felt regenerative. Like I was turning something that was dying into something living, a living narrative again. Okay, so I started naming these elegies because they feel like little poems. I usually work with figures or actual representations, women in particular. So I was trying to make these pieces that were not so literal, and obviously I can't do it. I can't do it. Figures always come out in my work. So insects, birds, moths still ended up being here, even earthworms. I have to have this creature that always ends up in the work. But my dad died right after the pandemic hit. You're hearing stories on the news about people dying. I'm finding these remnants in the creek, and it was a dead end where all this stuff was hitting. It was a lot. And so going into the woods and seeing things like mycelium and things turning something dark into something light again, of course, took on an importance to me. So each of these little pieces feel like little poems, little haikus or reactions to a moment. Also sort of maybe microcosms of the forest, or I don't know, little ecosystems in each one. And I think things were feeling so chaotic that circle shape felt comforting to me. It was a way of controlling the chaos. And those pieces now, when I look at them, I want to pull them out and stretch them and turn. They don't feel right to me anymore. But during the beginning of the pandemic, that controlled little space felt really important to me. So that's why I'm calling them elegies. They feel like individual little sudden bursts or poems. And this is, I don't need to tell you everything that's in each one, but I would like to show them to you. Like this one's got bones and toy pearls that I found in the water, but there's also wire. There's a ton of wire. You'd be amazed to get caught on cypress knees and around rocks. And I fish out the wire and the cable, and I use it for supports and forms. But you can see some of the wildlife too in this one that I see in my woods. I also love devil's cup fungus and the snake, the egg eater. The snakes get into my chicken coops and steal the eggs. And I think there's something there connected to this analogy, because eggs are about, new life, and the snake is stealing them. So it became a significant character in this story. This one has rusty bits in it. As you can see, like, I think it's a car part. I really love the decomposition that happens with rust when I find it in the water. So there's a lot of rusty bits. And this one's got just more like beer tabs. And of course there's Corona in reference to COVID, but there's also beetles and things that are hopeful characters in this story. And there's the telephone cord that came from the blue phone that I showed you at the beginning. It was trapped under a tree, and we had a big flash flood. And when the tree moved, I was able to free the old blue dial telephone. And I've been using its parts because, again, it's a really great metaphor for how I'm connecting with people. And then this is the new work I'm making, which is not in this show, but you can see it's growing now. That I'm not making the tiny little circles. I've brought my characters, my figures back, but the same materials, the same processes stayed with me. So I'm using the turkey tails and the ferns and everything on my figures. So that's it.
That was really great, Tracy. I mean, yeah. We typically kind of like hold off questions till the end, just to kind of like have like a group kind of session of questions and everybody kind of jump in. So what I'm going to do is share my screen now, and she is going to jump in and talk. Let me bring up your work really quick. All the way at the bottom. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Chi.
Okay. Hi, my name is Chiharu Roach, and everybody call me Chi. And I just try to, explain, how these, pieces come from. So since the pandemic of Corona start, we have many happenings and movement like Black Lives Matters, vote of the president and Asian hate crimes. These events deeply remind me of my experiences of discrimination and passage of time and unforgettable memories. And these my 4 pieces for this show are created under these situations and very, very personal, the pieces I create. Hope everybody understand my English. So first, I wanna explain my personal collection, Birmingham, Alabama, 2001 to 2021. That's a left piece. I moved here from Japan about 20 years ago. And at that time, I struggled to deal with the Asian girl stereotype created from the Hollywood movies. I could understand some of the discrimination I encountered due to their ignorance or lack of knowledge and my poor, English. But there are many instances. These acts came directly from malice. These were very hard for me to handle, so I typically look these memories away, never to revisit them again. But recently, Asian hate crime and Black Lives Matter movement have causes me to open the lock on the door to these memories and create this piece. The insect piece, yes, that one. In Japan, we use the term mushikera, which means insect, when referring to the person who is lower than a worm or bug. This is why I use insect that's here, but also find, these insect, from Asia. Ironically, some American people treat Asian people like they are less than a bug. So that's why I use these bug images. And this is a extremely serious subject matter because of the discriminations. But I try to sprinkle in moment of the humor with the edamame and rice to little bit lighting the mood. It is my hope and prayer that this piece will cause people to stop and think if just for a moment about the discriminations and the depth of the influence we can get from the discrimination. And by the way, the two that looks like a dog or like a yes, that supposed to fox, and we call the inari. This is represent the guardian of my memories. They are regarded as the secured in Japan, and they are at the entrance of the many shrines for these reasons. Yes. Yeah, somebody said that this is dog and this these are cat, but supposed to fox. And so yeah, next piece is at the moon climbed to its patch, my memory comes to me like that, lost children. This piece is my first attempt at the 3D installation art. It was inspired by my great mentor, Mr. Doug Bloss. It was a challenge for me to do it, but I enjoy so much, and I hope I can pursuing in the future more. And in this piece, I'm trying to express that as my comes, the night comes, I cannot rest because my memories keeps coming back to me. The bird I use in the chimney sweep, and so many amount of these birds sweep down into the chimney like a tornado, but looks not like a tornado. This my art, but like a tornado, light at the dusk and hung to the inside wall or wall of chimney. That's exactly looks like my memory or my thought inside of me. So that's why I use the chimney sweep. And I made it that lost children's hanging there. That like a little bit dolls. Yes, that part. The lost children are there represent how my thought come and go and have no permanent place in my mind. Sometimes they fade away, but other time they are coming, so, brightly. And, they have a, that each word I, put it, that word, children don't have. Some is a, unforgettable word. That's, some people gave it to me or said to me. And other words are, subject connecting the dots between my memories. Okay, next one. is both of them the hair, fake hair pieces. The one name is caught somewhere in time. Yeah, this one. And the other one is a drawing in the ocean of memories. And in these two pieces, I explain layer of time which present, my memories. In my case, I remember the difficult memories more than good memories. So I use the hair to represent the passage of time. And in Japanese cultures, hair is very spiritual and mysterious, subject. At the same time, it is also seems as so grotesque and so creepy. I like that combinations, combined these two different, emotion. So not to have that piece be too sweet, but have a element of darkness a little bit, like just our life. It's not just sweet. It's just, some part is so dark, like, that right now. So, and I used at the antique Japanese bento box, and yeah, this one. And also I used the old time Tommy's coffee can. Even they say fresh, but looks not fresh at all. So this is represent the passage of time. So we cannot escape the pass of time, or from our memories. So I've been struggle with these problem, these things recently. So that is why I made it this piece. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you, Chi. That was so great.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. Hope everybody can use that, your brain to, to imagine what I want to say.
We do. I mean, you're bilingual. Like, I don't think any of us are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stop share, and Leah's going to jump in now. Leah, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Hi, can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Carroll, and the title of our show, Layers and Crucibles, it just really, absolutely, it should just be the title of these pieces that I'm making. I guess they're tiny. They're all little crucibles, because what's happened to me during this past year, I'm normally a photographer and I love to connect with people, and I pretty much always do start with portraits of people that I take for my work. And of course, that's not been possible. And it's just been an incredibly challenging year. It was so surprising. I mean, I didn't see it coming. And back in the fall, people all around me were getting sick, and I was, we were watching what was happening in the political scene, and it was just, it was just a lot. And I know we've all had to process it. And I don't know, one day I had been collecting images and kind of playing around with them. And I just decided I was going to, I love Photoshop, and that's what I do in my day job. Is I'm a photo restoration specialist. I work in Photoshop and I restore images. So I decided to use, my skills in Photoshop to start playing around and doing some abstract work, since I could not do photography. And that's basically what happened. I kind of started to do this in order to just kind of process emotionally what was happening and what I was going through and how I felt about things. And they were just very meditative as I started playing and started putting these pieces together. So what I thought I would do is just kind of show you the layers, and just keep in mind that how I created these were just literally processing the mindset that I was in, just kind of letting whatever came out happen. And so I thought it would just be fun to kind of show you the layers. The first one I did was Monster, and it was definitely like an emotional response to how I felt, and just the horror that I felt about the children being separated from their parents at the border. And so anyway, I'm going to just kind of go through the layers of this piece and just kind of show you how it started and then where it ended up. And keep in mind that each layer, there's a lot that goes on in each layer as well to get it to where the point of that layer was finished. So these are just kind of the layers that I'm in Photoshop, and I'm just going to turn them on, and you can kind of see what happens as I add textures and images and color and drawings. I just started to draw and add images. There's one of the first photographs of one of the children that I found at the border. Monster. There's one of the other children at the border. And so that's how that happened. So that was the first one. And then I got coronavirus back in November, and that was just not a very fun experience, of course. And I started making one. I wanted to make one that had to do with that. So I'm going to turn on these layers and show you how it started and where it ends up. So that one's the one that's called Virus. And then this last piece I did, and I've done more, and I'll probably start showing them eventually, but I kind of I really enjoy doing these. So I hope to do a lot more, but I've always worked in a square format, even with my photography. I really like to work in a square format. So that's kind of where I started with these. So I think it would be, as I continue to do this, like I could just see, filling up a whole wall with these small squares. These are, of course, they're printed. I do my own printing, but they're 20 by 20 inch, but they can also be printed smaller. I can print them any size. So this last one I did this one after the Senate trial, after the what happened on January 6th, and then there was the impeachment trial, and I felt so strongly. I'd been just really affected by what was going on and how it had come to a head. And I thought, well, maybe this is going to stop now, just this political craziness that we've had. And I was just really upset that, that people were not held accountable. And and I have a lot of family members and things like that. It's just been so divisive. And I felt like just really, there's just been a lot of poison, a lot of misinformation. And so the title of this work, I called it Toadies, because toadies is a word from like the 17th century, when charlatans would go and try to just spread lies and sell the lies that they were trying to when they were, trying to scam people. They would have like an accomplice, and toads were believed to be poisonous, and so they would get them to eat a toad in front of everybody, and to kind of prove that they were not the charlatans that they were. Anyway, that's where that term came from, and so that's why I put them in this piece. But I'll start turning on the layers here. Okay, so that's the conclusion of that piece. So I guess a lot of how I create these because it was just so abstract, it really was just kind of composition, texture, color, and just processing my own, thoughts about everything that's been going on around us. And that's kind of how these came to be. They're not something that I've, done in the past. So it's been interesting for me as an artist to explore. I've always wanted to be able to draw and paint, and I just never I don't know, I just never have really explored that. I've always just gone with my photography. So this to me is exciting for me, because it feels like I'm finally exploring painting, although it is digital, and it's kind of a collage of all of these images that I collect, and the culmination of just everything I've learned how to do in Photoshop, and just I feel a lot more freedom with the work, that I can just play. And so I've really enjoyed making it, and it's definitely been therapeutic for me to make these pieces, to kind of just help me process everything that's been going on while we've been in quarantine. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Leah. That was really great. I really enjoyed seeing all the layers, like unfold and then refold again.
Yeah.
There's something performative about watching it that way, like an animation. I enjoyed seeing it like that. It was like a little short film. I think it'd be fun to see more of that. I like that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about doing a screen recording, like one time when I make one, to do a screen recording. So you can just you can also see as I work with a pen, like a digital, a Wacom tablet. And so I thought that would be kind of fun, because you could actually see the drawings happen. But I might do that in the future.
That was fun seeing you put them together.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to jump in with a question before we come back? And go ahead and unshare, I guess. Leah, there you go. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in. I have a comment or observation, is that I found there an emotional depth to everyone's work in this show, in the way that they explored the impact of the pandemic in this past year on them. And it's also, you all have explored your artwork, not just the subject matter is a little different for all of you, I think, but also the mediums, or for Tracy coming, pulling all those things that you've been collecting for so long and holding on to for so long, and really pulling them in to your work. And then for Chi, all those memories that you've been holding on to and bringing those into your work. So you're bringing these different things in. And Leah, just all those I don't want to say arguments, but all those like different like pinpoint parts of conversations with people that really strike a nerve with people one way or the other, and bringing those into your work. I don't know, there's just this wonderful connection that I see in all of your work. So that's just my observation.
I'll second that, absolutely. And I really enjoyed hearing you guys take us deep into the how you formulated your ideas and where they were derived from. I think are very, very original experiences of experiencing the pandemic, you know, and each of the things that you guys brought to it, like Tracy, that blue phone is just so incredible and crazy that there's a phone in the river and it's
I
blue.
know. I thought so too.
Like, it's like such a huge gift, you
I
know?
know. It's like, I'll keep the phone itself with the bells and the dial. It was just a treasure.
Yeah. I actually want to share my screen because I took a bunch of pictures of Chi's work. And when we were looking at the website, I was like, kind of like, oh man, I really wish I would have like swapped them out, because I caught the gallery the other day and it was just really incredible the way that the light was hitting her sculpture. And oh, let me pull it up.
The
Good.
breeze moves it too. The
Mm,
day at gallery sat, that piece with had the door open and the children sort of oscillate and the birds flutter and the paper and it was kinetic, and it was subtle and whispery. It was really ghostly. I loved it.
mhm.
I was like, I should have made a video just so you could see how it was moving in his face. It was so pretty.
Yeah. I just wanted to share because the light was hitting the papers and they just like lit up and it was just so incredible.
Yeah, they're glowing.
Thank you. Thank you for showing that. Very nice pictures.
Gee, I wanted to just ask you if there was anything further that you wanted to say on your experiences, because I think like that's just been on our minds, you know, and I feel like as an organization that occupies the South, we have an obligation to like use our platform to speak out, you know? And so if there's anything like further that you wanted to say on just like the recent comments of the last week, like I wanted to just give you the opportunity to do that, you know, just about how you feel or how your experiences are. And
When I heard President Trump was calling, start to call China virus, that I could imagine it might be happen like this.
Yeah.
So, somebody, putting the bad seed for the people who don't know anything much is very dangerous. So I really hoping, we can have a, good leaders to show, what we should each other, respect, how to respect and how to, enjoy each other. But, might be so far to go that way. But at least, that if everybody now having the chance to think about it, that's very important for me and for everybody. And hope it's not happening, that again, I hope. And, we should, think about it, and we should have a, good educations, to know each other more. So that's, I believe we need. But, lots of people contacting me to, to say, like, I feel, they feel so sorry for the Asian peoples, to happen like that. I really appreciate, there are so many hopes, that, people, everybody not like that. So just we need a good education. Hope it's
Thank you
coming.
for making
Sure.
pieces about it, Chi. I really
Mm.
appreciated it. I appreciate you are an important voice in my family because you influence my girls. So I'm glad you
But
started making art about this topic. I think it was an
And
important
we-
move for you.
yeah, we are artists, so we don't have to, scream to, too loudly, that, these things, somehow, we can create the art to fighting, these, sad, discrimination or, some, the movement. So we are artists, we can use the different tools.
Mhm, mhm.
Let's fight.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you.
Will you talk about your foxes a little bit too and how you made them? Because I'm very curious. And I think everybody else too here, I'll share my screen again and bring it up. I'm just wondering if you would talk about how the paper that's on them.
Well, first, I carved a huge farm.
Foam, yeah.
Then after that, I, put it the papers.
Mhm.
And Mr. Doug, literally helped me to, to make the antique finishing.
Hmm.
So it's not, that not heavy, it's so light. And I hope, I tried to make the same shape, but I couldn't carve well. So that's why, one is fat, one is skinny.
I think you should make more of those. Yeah.
I will. Yes, that's a good idea. I will do that. I enjoy to do it.
What about your materials, Tracy? How are your pieces made? What is the material process?
I use a lot of junk mail and cardboard boxes and wire, and I'll either conform the paper to the wire and twist the wire to hold the forms, or I'll use tape to make those curved forms like the mushrooms. And then I use polymer mediums and acrylic paint, and I paint them all. But there's a lot of, when I initially started this series, it was sort of important to me to hide the things I was finding. So there's all sorts of weird things like pop tops or, cable that I found in the creek, and I hid them, but it started to feel important. I was reading Robert McFarlane's Underland when all this started. And the book became really important to me because he said nothing stays buried, everything comes up. And it seemed like that was what was happening culturally or politically here. Like all the history, the secrets, the just hostility was all coming to the surface. And this is something I'm still struggling with, but I think the glass in particular, I'm starting to embed it in the work so you can see the light through the glass. And there's something magical about the cobalt beer bottles becoming stained glass. And so I use a lot of polymers just to preserve the rust and the bones and things like that. But it's all garbage. I mean, the papers are not acid free, but now they're saturated with polymers. And I sort of took a page from Eva Hess's book. It's like, I just want to see what the process is now, the effect is now. I don't want to worry about the longevity of the piece. But I think the liquid mediums are helping, and I'm able to preserve them pretty well. They should last a while. But I really love that I can turn a square, ugly cardboard box into these biomorphic forms. So wetting the papers and cardboards and twisting them and just trying to take the machine form out of it it's really meditative, because I love twisting those forms and making the mushrooms and the little circles that makes the lichen-like forms.
Mhm.
So the process of making all these repetitive forms is really just calming. I'll listen to audiobooks or watch a movie and just make tons of them and fill a box and then compose the pieces and then paint them after. And I was staining them initially with red clays and walnut dyes, and I'll still glaze them. Like that one's got some walnut dye over the acrylic paint. So I am still bringing my landscape into it. So I have walnut trees and I have nice red clay seam through my property, and mixing those with the polymers and staining stuff. It's like I'm taking back or it's like the woods are taking back the man-made junk, But sometimes there's something like that blue bottle cap that's just so great that I can't hide them anymore. And there are two ladders. I had to say this. I love the overlap of our work. I love that we did not show each other our work until we brought it in. And it's another layer to the layers thing. The little ladder here is in that one. And then the one with the girl, there's a little ladder in the side. And the red dots made me think of Leah's dots. Like, see, there's a little ladder to the right of the girl, just a tiny one, just right in the corner there. And the red circles that I know are the virus in your piece. I love that. It looks like looking at the creek water where you see things living in the water, like tadpoles or whatever's in the water. But the red slime mold and things like that, and the toads, I see frogs in the water. I thought it was really brilliant that we didn't discuss those things, but those forms emerged in all three of our works and connected. And I really, in the braid even, the telephone line and the hair, something about it connected. See the red dots and the little virus, and that piece to me really connects with the biomorphic forms. So I thought it was great that even though there's a depth to each of our narratives that are personal and different, there were forms and colors and things that wove the work together very nicely, I thought, at least in my head.
No, that's right there on the surface. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't talk about our specific works much. We talked a lot about the crucible idea. And because I'd been dabbling in the metal stuff with my daughter at SLOS, I love the idea of the crucible too, like putting the different things in a container, mixing them up and something new coming out. And we all three did that. Like dabbled in, like Miriam was saying, we all dabbled in new forms of making because of this. And I love that it's still us at the core. It's still essentially what we've always done, but it came out different. The extruder was different. It came out of a different emotional place or something. And I thought they complemented each other well. I was very unsure about showing these, but I couldn't have had better company, to hang them with. It made it make sense to me. I haven't seen them with people. They've been in my little hut here in the woods. So to hang them on a white wall and have people see them was really kind of emotional. And I was really unsteady and unsure of it. But hearing what you guys are saying about your work, it brought it to light in a different way that made it a rewarding thing. Small show with lots of big things.
Mm-hmm.
So thank both of you for showing with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anybody else have any questions?
I have one question, kind of. Chi, you also, just as Tracy was talking about, that being unsure about showing these works for the first time, you were also saying to me, or that you were having a similar feeling of uncertainty about showing this new body of work, and I'm sure people would like to if you don't mind sharing that, I'm sure people would like to hear some of that too.
Yes,
I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
see, usually I painted, the tango hair paintings. I just realized, how, maybe that's not, right word, but how easier to create the tango hair paintings, because that this show I really want to try the very different media to use it, and not to not 2D, 3D, the art I really want to try. And I totally lost, and I couldn't tell what I have to do, and I couldn't tell what I was doing. And so it was so hard, and so difficult time. But also, Tracy and Leah, having the Zoom meeting with me and try to cheer me up, and and Miriam cheer me up, and realize how wonderful friend I have. and getting the struggle in turn to enjoying the moment, like a running high. Somehow there is not that's it goal. I'm not sure what where I am going or where I am making, but somehow suddenly so so much fun. So maybe that is I still not sure that 4 pieces are ready to show, or the finishing well, but still I really enjoy now. I mm. Yeah, I was so hard time, and but I want to challenge more. That was a great chance to open the doors, and I realized how enjoy to create different things. So thank you so much for supporting supporting the Tracy, Leah, and Miriam. Thank you. I finished that piece. Thank you. So is that good enough?
That was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? We can wrap if there aren't any more questions.
It was great. Thank you all.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Great talk. It was a really great talk. Yes. I love this show. It's a really great, strong show, and it was wonderful to hear you guys talk. Thank you for sharing. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys all for sharing where the pieces come from, and that it's a really great show.
Thank you. Thanks for the feedback, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Miriam.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Chi.
Sarah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer.
You guys did a really good job.
Yeah, you did. That was excellent.
So, I'm gonna sign us. I'm gonna stop the recording and say farewell to anyone who's watching this later.